popcorn ready.
It's game time, baby.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome
a team that is known as Stoppers.
The Athletic presents Hoge Jahns.
Every single play, go take it. Bring that juice. Let's go get it. Come on.
Chicago's best Bears coverage.
Go Bears.
Go Bears.
From NBC Sports Chicago, it's Adam Hoge.
I do think he has the support of his teammates. Why would you not be rooting for him to succeed?
And from The Athletic, it's Adam Jahns.
I don't mean to psychoanalyze this stuff, but this is what we do in Chicago. This is what we do with their quarterbacks, and this is the biggest story in town.
Here they are, the Adams, Hoge Jahns.
What's up? Welcome in. I don't know why I had the Budweiser thing in my head.
What is this, 1999?
I went old
That's
school.
even
there.
before that, 1992?
It just happened. I don't know where that just came from, but
What's up?
Welcome in. Those were outstanding commercials, by the way.
Super Bowl commercial.
Yes. Right up there with the Geico Scoop There It Is commercial, which already
I
is
love that commercial.
One of the
love
best
that
of all
commercial.
time already. Put it up there on the board.
Chocolate.
It's got to be. All right, well, welcome in as we shift basically from free agency to the NFL draft here today, I think, is kind of what's happening. As we are seeing draft trades already, teams trading up for Johnson's guy, apparently, and Mac Jones. Woo, it's crazy stuff going on.
You're coming around. The Mac attack is back, Jack.
Well, he's got a pro day today again. I don't know why he has two pro days in 2 weeks, especially if the 49ers are already trading up for him. I don't know why you need to throw again today, but
What are those overused cliches? He's a grinder.
I guess so.
He must be a big gym rat.
I guess so. Well, we're going to talk about all this stuff because some crazy things happened. And welcome in. This is Hoge Jahns, Adam Hoge, and at Adam Jahns. So at Adam Hoge, at Adam Jahns on Twitter. I've had way too much coffee this morning, if you can't already tell. And we are jumping into this thing. So the big trade last week, which was bizarre because I don't know if you were watching, but I've been tuning into a lot of these pro days, especially if it's for quarterbacks. And so Zach Wilson's getting ready to go at BYU. John Lynch is literally standing there on the camera, and word comes in that he has traded up to number 3 in the draft. I mean, he's standing right there, like live on TV, and he had just made this big trade. And then, the Dolphins trade back up to 6, and the Eagles move back to 12 and all that. But it's obvious that the 49ers are moving up for a quarterback. It's also obvious that Zach Wilson's too damn good to get to number 3. So it's not for Zach Wilson, even though although I'm sure they would maybe love if that happens. And then, right away, actually, I'll give Daniel Jeremiah credit as I'm watching the NFL Network coverage. He says, don't be surprised if this move up is actually for Mac Jones, because he fits that offense very well, which of course I don't disagree with, but I was still surprised that they felt they had to trade 3 first-round picks. By the way, all this talk about how people don't want to trade 3 first-round picks for Deshaun Watson or Russell Wilson. That's what this trade was. 3 first-round picks to secure a quarterback. And a lot of reporting over the weekend, depending on who you're reading and who you're paying attention to, the smoke is out there that the 49ers want Mac Jones.
Chris Sims is another one. He obviously works for NBC Sports, and he's very close with Kyle Shanahan. Very close, extremely close, to the point where Kyle Shanahan was actually asked about Chris Sims and their friendship in their press conference yesterday. That's how close they are, because people want clarification. And he hinted at their interest in Mac Jones. So question for you, Mr. Hoge, because I'm on the Mac Jones train. I think he's a good player. I think he's going to be a good quarterback. How do you feel about this smoke, the buzz about him being the number 3 overall pick that's worth parting with that draft compensation? You're torn. It's eating at you.
I will say this. I think he has the highest floor of the remaining quarterbacks following Trevor Lawrence and Zach Wilson. The more and more I watch, those two guys are great. I'm warning you, I may end up having Zach Wilson number 1. I love everything he does. It's crazy. And I'm trying to resist that because I never thought that would have been possible. Because
Chris Sims would support you.
Yeah. By the way, find somebody that loves you the way that Adam Johns loves Chris Sims' quarterback rankings.
I just like that he's willing to go opposite the groupthink.
Yeah.
He is, and I respect that because look, Trevor Lawrence is a fantastic prospect. I wouldn't put Zach Wilson number one. Trevor Lawrence is, to me, he's number one. But I appreciate the analyst who is willing to put himself out there to separate himself from the groupthink.
Well, and here's I actually still haven't heard Sims's reasoning for that. Because I actually do try to protect myself from getting influenced too much from other people as I go through the tape studies. But I will say this. My guess is, and if it's the case, I agree with it. His thinking is that Wilson has the higher ceiling. And I think I agree. I think Trevor Lawrence is maybe set up for an Andrew Luck type career. But one that continues.
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that.
Without the whole retirement thing at a random preseason game in August. A longer Andrew Luck career, let's put it that way. Andrew Luck's great. Like, that's awesome. Get yourself an Andrew Luck. There's no problem with that at all. I just think that Zach Wilson has a chance to be one of these more dynamic, high-flying type quarterbacks. You know, I try not to use the P word, and Patrick Mahomes, but even like a Josh Allen, you know, these guys that can move and throw and make crazy plays. Trevor Lawrence does that too, but I don't know. There's something extra special about what Zach Wilson can do. So to me, anyway, those two guys are clearly 1 and 2 to me. We'll see in a couple of weeks when my quarterback rankings do come out. Because I haven't decided that. The more and more I watch Zach Wilson, it's crazy. So here's the thing about Mac Jones. I do think his ceiling is limited. Like, he's not going to go out there and make those special plays that I just talked about with his Zach Wilson or Trevor Lawrence, but I do think he's the most accurate quarterback in this draft. His accuracy, there's no arguing that. I also think he's a little bit more athletic and mobile than people want to give him credit. He can move around, but his accuracy does dip significantly when he tries to throw on the run. Whereas, I mean, if you saw some of those, you could turn on Zach Wilson's tape, but even if you just watched his pro day last week, I mean, some of those ridiculous throws he's making, 50, 60 yards downfield across his body on the run, there's no way Mac Jones is pulling that off. So that's just where I get hesitant with, is this guy really worth the number 3 overall pick? Because when I say he has a high floor, his floor might still be like Jimmy Garoppolo, though. You already have Jimmy Garoppolo, which is a solid guy that took you to the Super Bowl. Now, I guess if that's the floor, then you're still at a minimum back where you started, and you're hoping to get higher. So, I don't know. I know you like him. I don't hate him. I'm just not in love with him the way I am some of these other quarterbacks.
I think, to me, a lot of this is like always relative to like the draft year. Like, would he be higher in a different year? You know what I'm saying? Like, I know Joe Burrow was the runaway number 1 last year, but for some of the reasons he was special are some of the reasons why Mac Jones is criticized, right? Like, Joe Burrow was on these special, fully loaded LSU teams. First-round pick receivers, just like elite talent all over the field, both sides of the ball. Same is true for Mac Jones. Like, Joe Burrow wasn't criticized for that. Wasn't at all. And I get he's a little bit more mobile than a Mac Jones. But Mac Jones is like criticized for that. Like, how do you differentiate Mac Jones from the talent around him? But like, why wasn't that a serious conversation, or at least an overplayed conversation with Joe Burrow last year? So I always feel like it's always relative to the guys that are in your draft class, right? Always relative to the guys that you're being compared to. Like this year, I don't think he has the physical skills, the gifts that Trevor Lawrence has, or Zach Wilson especially has. But I think he's a darn good quarterback. I think he's a guy, like I said in the last podcast, that people are going to be guilty of talking themselves out of. Now, whether or not he goes 3 or 4, I don't know. But I think he is worth a first-round pick, especially. He's worth a first-round pick before the Bears number 20. You're smiling.
Well, it's amazing. I mean, I love draft season because of this stuff. I mean, people say I just love when I put out my first mock draft at the Tuesday after the Super Bowl every year, and all the response, oh, this guy's going to be gone for sure, or no way that guy's going that high.
You never know.
And it's like, I don't know. I mean, no one knows. I don't think 31 other teams thought a month ago that John Lynch would be trading up to number 3 for Mac Jones. You know what I mean? Like, it's not just you, me, or people on Twitter. We're talking about GMs in the NFL. And still at this point, and I want to stress this too, even as we say this, who knows what's going to happen? You know, I don't lock anything in until draft night. And then guys fall. This is where I want to transition the conversation a little bit to what this means for the Bears. And if they can get, I mean, basically, if 3 quarterbacks go in the top 3, a lot of people seem to think the Falcons are taking one too.
It's never happened before.
So is that Justin Fields or Trey Lance? Regardless, if that happens, that leaves one guy. And we're at number 5. So how do you guarantee yourself that one guy and do you even like that guy?
And you still got the Carolina Panthers. There's other teams, the New England Patriots.
Maybe the Lions.
Maybe the Lions. They're all in front of you. Teams you're going to have to try to jump if you want one of those guys. You can only hope that one falls for whatever reason. Where does this leave the Bears?
Without a quarterback.
Yeah, well, what else is new? I think it leaves them seriously considering the second-tier guys. Sometimes you just have to cut your losses here. You don't have the 3rd overall pick this year. You're not in position now. Like 2017, it was different, right? Like there's a lot of debate about Watson and a lot of debate about Mahomes, and they got drafted 10 and 12. But even then, they had to trade up to get them, the Texans and the Chiefs. I don't know. I think they're in a bad spot to get one of those top 5 guys. I really do. I've almost moved on from them. I'm like, I'm on to watching film on Kellen Mond, Kyle Trask, those guys, because I feel like that's where the Bears eventually have to go if they're not there yet.
So, and that's a big difference from 2017. I remember sitting there even on draft night, and, you know, in hindsight, should have had Mahomes much higher. Like, I liked Mahomes, but all 3 of those guys I wasn't willing to take until mid to late first round at the earliest. Like, that's the big difference here is we're talking about guys, you know, potentially 5 quarterbacks in the top 5 picks, which would be unprecedented. And that was always my concern about what the Bears did with Trubisky. Now, I defended it in the stance of, if you're the GM and you have that conviction and you have him rated there, then, you know, I understand why you make that move because it's for a quarterback. But personally, I had Trubisky middle first round tops. And I think I had Mahomes later first round. And obviously that should have, in hindsight, Mahomes should have been the clear number 1, right? But that's not the draft this year. Like, these guys are all getting much. So it's great for us to bring up, and, you know, rightfully so, what the Chiefs did that year. They were able to go from 27 to 10 and get their guy. That just doesn't seem realistic this year.
There's always quarterback-needy teams. I'm always surprised by the quarterback-needy teams that pass on the actual quarterbacks, right? Like the Buffalo Bills passed on Patrick Mahomes. That's the famous trade, right? That's why Josh Allen is so... Like, they're so fortunate to have Josh Allen because they're the ones who traded the number 10 pick to the Chiefs. People forget about that. Like, that's a conversation in Buffalo, but in cities like Chicago, where we are, like, that's a forgotten fact. Like, teams passed on Patrick Mahomes. Yeah, Jacksonville. I'm always surprised by which teams that have obvious quarterback deficiencies pass on actual quarterbacks in the draft. That doesn't feel like this is going to come to fruition this year. Like, the Bears have to hope the Carolina Panthers don't like Trey Lance. They got to hope that the Patriots are eyeing a guy in the 2nd round for a chance to have that opportunity to take a Justin Fields for if he drafts for whatever miraculous reason or a Trey Lance. Like, you got to hope that some of those quarterback needy teams pass.
Well, here's the other problem is that if if these quarterbacks are all going top 5, where are these second-tier guys going to end up? Like, how desperate are teams like the Bears going to be? Is all of a sudden Kellen Mond going to slip into the first round here?
Yeah.
And then how high are you willing to reach? At the risk of not going quarterback at number 20 and not having a chance to draft one because they all slip into the back half of the first round.
So my latest mock draft has Kellen Mond going to the Bears in the second round. And that's I called it a stretch. I think that might be too early. Maybe late second round is like the best place to get him. Maybe you trade back. But again, the position drives the draft. We're seeing it right now. It changes everything. So the Bears can actually stand to benefit, in my opinion, by a run on quarterbacks, right? They could be patient. They could take one of these great offensive tackles. They could solidify another premier position. Sure, you miss on a quarterback, but sometimes you have to cut your losses a little bit here. You just can't do what you want to do every single year. So in the second round, maybe that's when you overdraft your quarterback. That's when you hedge your bets a bit and say, I don't think Mond's going to be there in the third round. And I don't know why I'm coming around on him, but focusing on those second-tier guys is...
Because Chris Sims likes him.
I think it's probably it. He put me on no. Again, anti-group think.
Man, I wish you liked my quarterback rankings as much as you love his.
You need to get that big board back.
He may have a little bit more credibility than I do.
Come on.
Yes.
Thanks, buddy. Dinner time can be chaotic. I can tell you that's the case in my family. There's a lot going on and not a lot of time. But with Freshly, it's easy. Their chefs take care of your meals a few nights a week and take the pressure off you. Freshly offers chef-made, nutrient-packed, delicious meals delivered fresh to your door. No cooking required. Grocery shopping and cooking can be a pain, especially right now. And with Freshly, you don't have to do it. Your meals arrive cooked and fresh every week, so you can keep your fridge stocked and skip the trip to the store. And ordering is easy. You visit freshly.com, choose from over 30 delicious, satisfying, better-for-you meals like steak peppercorn, sausage baked penny, or their chicken pesto bowl. Freshly can fit your lifestyle with a variety of plans and meals to pick from that work for your dietary needs, preferences, tastes, and family size. And now, our listeners can try Freshly for just $6.16 per meal. Stop searching the internet for healthy food near me every night and start living life freshly. Your meals are always delivered fresh, never frozen, and are ready to heat and enjoy in just 3 minutes with new meals added each week. Freshly brings the convenience of chef-made, nutritionist-designed classics right to your kitchen. Right now, Freshly is offering our listeners $40 off your first 2 orders when you go to freshly.com/Adam. Stop stressing about dinner. Go to freshly.com/Adam for $40 off your first 2 orders. That's freshly.com/Adam for $40 off your first 2 orders.
It's March, and listeners of the Hoge Jahns podcast know exactly what that means. It's officially tournament time. Whether you're a diehard fan rooting on your alma mater, or you just love getting in on the bracket craziness, this is the week to kick your feet up and enjoy wall-to-wall coverage. The only thing that feels better than watching your picks survive in advance is getting paid when they do. At The Athletic, our team of hoops experts and insiders are bringing you all the latest news, trends, and insights on the big dance, plus our picks for every single game on the slate in Indianapolis. And now we're partnering with BetMGM to bring you the best exclusive offer to bet alongside us and win. Right now, we're offering Hoge Jahns listeners a risk-free first bet up to $600. Just sign up at BetMGM.com and use the bonus code ADAM to take advantage of the special offer from the king of sportsbooks. This offer is for new customers. That's a risk-free first bet up to $600 at BetMGM.com with the bonus code ADAM. Visit MGM.com for terms and conditions.
Must be 21 years of age or older to wager. Colorado, Indiana, Iowa, Michigan, New Jersey, Nevada, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, or West Virginia only. Excludes Michigan disassociated persons. Please gamble responsibly. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700 in Colorado, Nevada, and Virginia. 1-800-270-7117 for confidential help in Michigan. 1-800-GAMBLER in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and West Virginia. And 1-800-BETS-OFF in Iowa. In Tennessee, call or text the red line at 800-889-9789. Or if you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-9-WITH-IT in Indiana. Promotional offer not available in Nevada.
Well, so what do the Bears do now? first round. Just offensive tackle.
There's nothing wrong with that. Again, there's nothing wrong with that.
What would your reaction be if they drafted
A corner? That'd be fine. I'd be fine with that. I'd take your receiver
kind of a
as
tough
well.
sell after everything that happened on offense for them to go defense?
That's fair, but you know what? If they get a good one, they get a good one. I think this is where you mentioned your Northwestern cornerback for the umpteenth time. But
I haven't put him in a mock draft yet.
You're waiting for the end. I know. It's okay. Your final one.
Yet being the key word.
Yes, right. I know.
Got one coming out next week.
You and Fishbane, like your final mock draft. There he is. Number 20.
Bears trade up for Rashawn Slater. Then they trade up for Greg Newsome in the back, and then they do the Mike Ditka thing. They trade all their picks like you did last week for who did
Mac
you
Jones.
pick? Oh, for Mac Jones, who then ended up going 20 picks higher than you said.
Well, hey, that beat writer mock draft, I was stunned that he was there.
That's true. That was just you guys doing the picks. So
It's doing the picks, just playing the board, being aggressive where we need to be. Adam, if they take one of the premier positions, okay, it's quarterback number one, obviously. Utmost importance. But then you got offensive tackle. You need an offensive tackle. You need a cornerback. You need a receiver. And you probably need a pass rusher. Like the most important positions in football are all needs for the Bears this year. You can't go wrong by taking one of them. Now, I would stress against not over-picking a quarterback. You know, at number 20, maybe just let the board come to you if you can't move up, but I'd be fine if they take one of those premier positions. I think most fans should be too.
well, if 5 quarterbacks go ahead of the Bears, that means that at least one other position player is the board's getting pushed back at least a little bit, right? Somebody's maybe, and then maybe we've seen Ryan Pace draft up or move up before, a spot or two. And at that point, like if you're moving up from 20 to 18, just for example, something like that, that doesn't cost a whole lot. Once you get out of that top 5, top 10, the price to move up a couple spots is not terrible.
Well, even the price to move up for Leonard Floyd at 9 wasn't egregious.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. So, I don't know. Does Devonta Smith fall a little bit? To somebody like that? I mean, who I just think is so good. It just finds a way to get open. See people, and coming into the season, I liked Waddle more, Jalen Waddle. And now Waddle seems to have maybe leapfrogged Devonta Smith back up ahead of him, despite the injury he dealt with this year, which is fine. I think Waddle's really good too. But, man, to me, Devonta Smith's just – sometimes you just turn on film, you see guys that are just always open. Just
He's that guy.
That's the guy. Like, you don't have to overthink this in terms of height, weight, speed, all those things. Not that I don't like Waddle. I do like Waddle. I just think guys have a knack at that position, a wide receiver, to get open. You take them. So – I don't know if he'll make it all the way to 20, but if he makes it to 15, if one of those guys makes it to 15, do you try to make that move to improve your offense? Because I just think that, and by the way, someone's lucking out and getting Kyle Pitts with all these quarterbacks. I don't know who that's going to be up there.
Might be the Dolphins getting back up in the 6.
I'll tell you what, if you're a Bears fan, I'm telling you right now, you do not want Kyle Pitts to end up in Detroit. I mean, that dude is just
a difference
good.
player.
Yeah.
Different player. Here's a question for you. So Kevin Fishbane and I kind of have this debate. Like, he's obsessed with the Bears' interest in Kenny Galladay. And I'm obsessed a bit with the Bears' interest in Trent Williams. All right? Those obviously would have been bold moves in free agency, but I think they can hint at where they're headed in the draft, like where their priorities might be, since they're stuck with Andy Dalton as their quarterback. Like, even if they draft the guy at 20, they draft the quarterback at 20, that guy's not going to be ready. You're stuck with Andy Dalton. They hope for this entire year, right? They don't want to rush a quarterback. They don't. So how do you help Andy Dalton? To me, it's that offensive tackle. I go there first. I think wide receiver is deep enough where you could get a guy in the 2nd or 3rd round. No offensive tackle, I would try to get one of them This is a good year for offensive tackles, and I would try to get one of them in the first 2 rounds. Absolutely would try to get one of them. So I don't know where you side, the big name wide receiver, the big name tackle, but I would put my priorities. I would rank my priorities: quarterback, offensive tackle, then receiver.
Yeah, and I think you got to look at the way that, we have a pretty large sample size now, 6 years of how Ryan Pace likes to build his team, right? So, I do think preparing for a scenario where they go cornerback in the first round is warranted. Like to try to play that scenario out is worth discussing. But every time I do this, I think I mentioned this last week, I think about the fact that the Ryan Pace philosophy at corner has always seemed to be to have a young guy and then a veteran. And that's always been the case, whether it was Kyle Fuller being the young guy and who was before? Was it Tracy Porter?
Tracy Porter, good signing.
Yeah. Tracy Porter. Then they went to Prince Amukamara, right? And now it's kind of switched. Kyle Fuller became the older veteran, and then they drafted Jalen Johnson. And yes, they lost Kyle Fuller, but they bring in Desmond Trufant, who's still kind of that Prince Amukamara, Tracy Porter-like signing, right? So I think about that and I go, well, maybe they don't feel that corner is as big of a priority in the draft because they already have the young guy and they already have the veteran, the secondary veteran, to go with the talented young guy. Now, I do think the situation is a little different because they, to me, still have a void at nickel at the slot corner. And maybe that's a young guy that you bring in and then you can develop. But hey, maybe they think they can get by with Duke Shelley and Kendall Villador. I don't know.
They loved some Duke Shelley a couple years ago. Remember how excited they were for his selection in the 6th round? Another conviction pick.
Yeah. Well, and this is what I was going to say about this was also, I was going to apply the same thinking about roster construction to the offense. And you learn from past mistakes, right? So first year, Pace goes out and drafts Kevin White. Didn't work out. First round wide receiver. They've had more success with a 5th round pick last year, Darnell Mooney, than they did with a 1st round pick. So does that influence their decision making to think, yes, we really wanted to go get Kenny Golladay. We like Kenny Golladay. That tells us that wide receiver is a big need in their eyes, but do they have an eye on somebody like Darnell Mooney that they think is kind of a sleeper that they can get later on instead of taking a big risk on a 1st round pick?
What I do now is make note of every fast guy that comes about, right? Because you knew Matt Nagy, like in his mind, every fast guy, guys that hit 4.3, low 4.4s, guys that show that explosiveness in some of those drills, like those are the guys he's looking for because Mooney displayed all that.
But here's the thing about Mooney. Mooney fits what I was just talking about with Devonta Smith. So obviously he had, something wrong where he went to the 5th round. Maybe it was just being at Tulane. Maybe it was being under the radar. I don't know. But he was just always open. When you turn on that Tulane tape, he was a guy that just knew how to get open, was crafty. And then we learned as he got to the Bears, the guy had a playbook mastered. I don't know, maybe not mastered, but certainly knew the playbook and the offense well enough by week 1 to play right away in an offseason where they didn't have an offseason program, where he came in as a draft pick, abbreviated training camp, and yet he knew the offense better than Anthony Miller did after 2 years. So that says a lot about how smart he is too and how much so it's not just always about speed. These guys have to know what they're doing. And so maybe you can find that guy a little bit later on in the draft. I don't know.
You know what always stood out to me about like last year's draft? Like the selections of Kmet and Jalen Johnson just felt different than other like earlier picks for them. You know what I mean? Like the Bears, I think everybody would rightfully give Ryan Pace credit and his staff credit for identifying some pretty darn good players on day 3 of the draft, right? Starts with Eddie Jackson, Tariq Cohen, you got Darnell Mooney. You have like Nick Kwiatkowski, Bilal Nichols. There's a whole list of guys that
There's even undrafted guys.
Yes. They excel there. What felt different to me about like last year is that Cole Kmet and Jalen Johnson just made a lot of sense. You know what I'm saying? Like the risk was low.
It's like you didn't overthink it.
Team captain guys, positions of need. And they played right away. Okay, maybe not Kmet, but eventually he was, he took over for Jimmy Graham as the offense changed a bit. But like you got production out of them the first years. And look, Anthony Miller, I like that pick. But something went wrong like after his first year. And he was very productive his rookie year. Now that was a good year for the Bears, but James Daniels and Cody Whitehair, but like I think for the first time in a long time, like we haven't had a first round pick like in 3 years, right? Like I almost wonder if that safe mentality. This is where I'm going with this point. Is like this makes complete sense pick is finally on the table for like Ryan Pace again in the first round, as opposed to the Kevin White selection is first, where you're like, what's going on here? Why does he need a receiver? And there's so many other things going on. Like I almost feel like they're headed that way with this 20th overall pick.
Maybe for the first time a trade back scenario.
You know how many Bears fans would love that?
But I'm being serious. Like, if the thinking is, and this goes back to what I was talking about earlier, are some of these secondary quarterbacks going to end up going higher than probably they should just because of the early run and how desperate some of these other teams are going to be? If you think that you may have to reach late first round to get a Kellen Mond or a Davis Mills, and I don't know if that's going to be the case or not, but these are the scenarios that we talk about where sometimes you're surprised on draft day, right? Well, if you feel like you're going to have to make that move, then maybe it makes sense to maybe trade back first, and then maybe you can get extra picks or end up with two later first round. Maybe you end up with 2 first round picks, but they're like 27, 29. I don't know. Just throwing out numbers at this point. But then you still can address multiple needs while admittedly probably overdrafting a quarterback that maybe deserved to be more in the second round. But you had to get that guy. So you managed to do so while also not giving up, too much draft picks to go up and trade that guy.
Like taking a Liam Eichenberg late in the first round and getting, who's the Minnesota receiver? Rashad Bateman.
Good player. I like him a lot. Another guy who just knows how to get open.
Like if you somehow landed those guys late first, I don't know how it works. We're just throwing out hypotheticals. Like I think that should be celebrated. Then you take the overdraft in the second round of the quarterback, whether that's Kyle Trask or Kellen Mond. Like that would be extremely acceptable to me. One last thought before we go. So the last time quarterbacks went 1, 2, 3 in the draft. You remember the year?
1, 2, 3 in the draft. I don't.
1999.
Oh.
Number 1, Tim Couch, Cleveland Browns. Number 2, Donovan McNabb, Philadelphia Eagles. Number 3, Akili Smith, Cincinnati Bengals.
No.
Not good. So I bring this up because the Bears were also involved in quarterbacks this year, and we should all remember what this year was, right? So at number 11, the Minnesota Vikings drafted Dante Culpepper. At number 12, the 5th quarterback taken in that draft. Adam? Cade McNown. I just think it's interesting to bring up because we're talking about 5 quarterbacks going before number 20.
Holy Moses.
And that happened in 1999, and the Bears were part of it. And for as many busts as there were in those quarterbacks, like I would say the Bears got the worst one.
I saw a stat, too, the other day that showed like the last 5 times a team has traded up for a quarterback. Like the last 5-6 years, that quarterback's not worked.
Yeah, I feel like the only one that
includes
has,
the Bears.
Yeah, Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson are like the outliers, right?
Yeah, since that draft, maybe is what it was.
Yeah, like that 1999 draft. Just I'm gonna write about it a little bit later on The Athletic, but like At number 50, the Buccaneers got Sean King. He had a vastly better career than Cade McNown at number 12. Just stuff to think about as you digest these mock drafts that are out there and you see all these pro days with the quarterbacks.
Let me just clarify. I think that was, now I think about it, I think it was trading up into the top 3. So it was like very specific, because obviously Mahomes and Watson worked out. But to trade up, so Jared Goff, Carson Wentz, Mitch Trubisky, those guys, not good. Yeah, hasn't worked out. All right. Yes, a little bit of a shorter pod today, but we got a lot of stuff going on. We did want to kick off draft season, so there you go. Follow us on Twitter at Adam Hoge, at Adam Jahns. Read our stuff as it. I got some stuff on free agency, kind of closing the book on free agency. There's actually a couple free agents I think the Bears did a really good job with signing. Andy Dalton's getting all the attention, but there were some decent stuff. So you can go on to NBCSportsChicago.com and find that. And Johnsy's
takeaways columns coming up on Wednesday.
There you go. On theathletic.com/Hoge and Jahns is where you go to subscribe there if you're not already subscribed. Find our YouTube channel. You can watch us there. We're wearing the same shirt, different colors today.
Because we are drinking football, guys.
Which, this is the best shirt. You got it. This is the one.
Yes. The sun's out. Almost time, everybody.
Time for what?
To be beer drinking football guy.
Oh. Yeah.
Come on.
That's kind of a year-round thing for me.
Yeah. It's nice out now.
But it'll be summer when I wear this shirt out. All right. Appreciate YouTube. That's where you can see what we're talking about. YouTube, our Hoge and Jahns channel. Check it out. We appreciate you doing that. Word of mouth is great, too. Tell your friends. And we always appreciate the support. So we'll talk to you later.
See ya.
Y'all stay corona free, all right? And God bless.